Second time, is there anyone who'd like to speak? And then for a final time, anyone who'd like to speak?
Okay,
Okay,
we'll move on to supervisor's response, which there would be none because there was no comment. And approval of the minutes from the August 27th, 2024 County Board meeting. We have a motion by Rubelard, second by Fisher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay, County Administrator's report.
sure. Nothing major to report this month. The memo is included in your packet, so I'll just defer if there's any questions, but there wasn't any significant updates from the last month.
Any questions on the report from the administrator? No? Okay, so pending business updates? Nothing there? All right. All right, resolutions. So Roy, would you like to present 2024-46?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I move to approve resolution number 2024-46, depository resolution for financial assurance for a non-metallic mine located at 2695 South Stevenson Pier Road, Town of Gardner. I'd like to refer this also to our corporate counsel, if there's any questions.
All right, we've got a motion to amend the resolution by Supervisor Fisher.
That was a mistake, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, all right, by air. Go ahead. I don't see that.
Good morning, everybody. Just to give some brief background to this resolution, when an entity or an individual requests to operate a non-metallic mine or a quarry within the county, they need to file a financial assurance with the Soil and Water Conservation Department. That financial assurance is an assurance that when the quarry is closed or no longer operated, that they reclamate that according to the reclamation plan, putting it back into a safe and usable situation. In this case, we have many financial assurances, many quarries in the county, as you can imagine. A certificate of deposit is an acceptable form of a financial assurance. In this case, the operator of the quarry at issue used Associated Bank to hold their certificate of deposit for their financial assurance. This is fine. The reason this resolution is before the county board is Associated Bank requires a resolution from the county board authorizing Associated Bank to be the depository to hold the certificate of deposit. They require the county board to give the county conservationist approval to interact with this certificate of deposit, and then some other conditions that I really don't see large issue to. So this is largely a formality in order to have this financial assurance go into effect. I don't anticipate seeing many of these, as most institutions do not require this type of resolution. Associated Bank, they have their forms, they will not amend them, they absolutely require the procedure be followed. So it's really just a formality for the county board to approve this so we can get that financial assurance in place.
Supervisor Miller?
Yeah, how do they determine the amount of money that needs to be set aside? Is it based on the potential material that's taken out of the quarry, or how do they determine what dollar amount needs to be set aside for assurances that the reclamation will take place?
The administrative code requires the amount of the financial assurance be the amount that the Soil and Water Conservation Department would have to spend hiring a contractor to fully remediate, follow that remediation plan. So it's really at the discretion of the Soil and Water Conservation Department in determining what amount is sufficient to do that. So every non-metallic mine in the county is going to have a different financial assurance amount. It's all based on what's going on and what will it take to remediate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Boltman?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This question is for Greg. I know Greg's in the room. Maybe, Greg, you might want to come up. Tangential, but this quarry is located just one property north of the third longest known cave in the state of Wisconsin. People in the caving community are very concerned that, and the cave is trending right towards the quarry site. And that was when this came up, there was a lot of, concern that the quarry was going to break into the cave. And given the reality of the situation, it probably will happen. So I just want a little reminder, how does the Soil and Water office work with the DNR, who's got authority, or who's going to make sure that when that cave is broken into, that the bats that live there and, you know, the situation is handled as, you know, I guess, you know, anybody's got the right to quarry away a cave. There's no rules against that, which is unfortunate, because caves are non-renewable resources that have taken millions of years to form and are really unique habitat sites. So maybe a little information on that would be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, at the beginning, when this was permitted, they had to go through some conditional reviews from the DNR. So there's time periods when they can blast and cannot blast, so that if the bats are in the trees, the young bats, but also if they do hit that cave entrance, they have to stop. They have to notify the DNR and then
Okay.
go from there.
So they're not allowed to blast when bats would be in the cave?
There's a time period that they cannot blast, and I can't remember if it's when they're in the cave or if it's when they're in the trees, when they have the young of the
Okay.
year.
Okay.
I'd,
So
have,
there
to, I'd
was,
have to go back and look at the conditions on that.
there was some DNR input in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep,
And which is unusual, right?
It depends on the site, but because the cave was there, it got a hit. You know,
Okay.
so then they got involved.
Thank you.
Supervisor Combs.
I assume this financial assurance is for privately owned mines, not municipal mines?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions regarding the resolution? Go ahead, Vinnie.
Is there anything in remediation for the cave that the DNR requires, like beyond the surface remediation we normally do? I don't know.
There isn't anything in there now. Right now, it's if you do happen to break into the cave, you have to stop, and then the DNR will come out and evaluate.
Thank you.
Do you know who that is that comes out?
With the change in staff down there, no, not at this time. Again, I can get you the letter.
Madison?
I don't know.
I can talk to you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions regarding resolution 2024-46? If not, we'll go to the voter board. All right, resolution is passed at 17-1. Okay, NISA, resolution 2024-47.
All right, I will make the motion to approve resolution number 2024-47, approval of gift grant and or donation to Health and Human Services. It's a donation from Crush Health Society. The reason why it's coming to the board is because it is over $5,000.
Okay, any questions regarding the donation or the details behind any of that? Okay, by voice vote, all in favor? Oh, excuse me.
No, it's for back to school supplies. I just think it's good on these to kind of know what the grant is for, what the dollars are for. So I asked in the committee meeting and just so,
Okay,
so they
Alright.
get acknowledged for why they're giving money. So thank you.
Alright. Thank you, Vinnie. All right, all in favor by voice vote, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is passed. Roy, 2024-48.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve resolution number 2024-48, authorization application for the acceptance of financial assistance for bat condo installation at the Robert LaSalle and Forceville Dam County Parks.
Okay, is there any questions regarding, Parks Manager is here, if anyone has any questions regarding, oh, excuse me, Mr. Boltman,
Yeah.
sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Yeah, just, it's interesting, we have two topics on the agenda, very short agenda today that both involve bats. And as most people know, bats are really struggling with white nose that came through, really swept across the, North America in the last 10 years. We've had an incredible decline in bat populations. Bats are worth billions of dollars to our agricultural economy and to our forestry, eating pests of the forest and pests of corn crops and soybeans and whatnot. And anything we can do to help and foster bat populations is a really good thing. And so I hope that this is just the start of getting a bat condo up at every county park. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Boltman. All right, any questions beyond that? Is there anything you want to explain regarding the resolution?
If there's any questions, I'm free to answer.
Okay.
Actually, I got one question. Is this Did I hear right that you've got some high school students building these condos? Was that this project?
Currently, right now, we've negotiated a building, one condo right now as a pilot project with Gibraltar High School. Approximately 20 students have successfully built the condo. The condo will be installed next week, tentatively, outside Horseshoe Bay Cave in the northeast corner of the parking lot area right there. And this condo will house up to about 3,000 bats during the summer summer roosting, which should increase bat populations. This grant that we're applying for right now requires a county resolution in order for us to receive future funding for fish and wildlife projects from the DNR. This was established in the 50s, and this grant is awarded every year to every county that applies for it. And we do have matching grants that will eventually be coming from the Friends Group on this. And so this previous condo is successfully built. It will be installed, and we're hoping to have 2 more installed at these 2 parks, LaSalle and Forestville. And then if this continues to be a success, we'll do it hopefully at more parks.
Excellent. So do we know who's building these bat condos?
It will be through Gibraltar School again with
Cool.
Nathan Hatch's shop class.
Awesome. Well, again, this is such a great project, and really, touching high school students and involving them in the parks and in ecological restoration work. This is really fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right, so you'll see, comments, bud, sorry.
Can you tell us the size of these condos?
Yes, it's to give you a big picture of this. This is essentially like a doghouse on 10-foot stilts. It's 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot tall approximately, and it has numerous baffles within it. And it's indescript when it's in the park, so it's not right in the front center, much like you would do a doghouse on your back of your property. But it does do a valuable impact for the bat populations and for our environment as well. Plus, like Bob was saying, this is a huge impact for our students, get their hands on the projects, get their hands in the parks, as well as have some ownership so that as they get older, they can say, I built that. My name's inside that.
Supervisor Morgan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it possible to have smaller condos that private citizens can put up on their property?
Yes, there are bat houses and whatnot, and if you have more questions on that, I can answer that afterwards.
Great.
But this condo is professionally engineered by the DNR, and there's also other engineering plans I can get my hands on for you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One at my house, and you can just buy them at a bird feed store, but on the way into town, they have the bird the migrate in place, they sell them there. They're everywhere.
Okay, as you'll notice, there's a county match here, and because of the dollars involved, we'll go to the voter board, so. Resolution passes on a vote of 18-0. Okay, resolution 2024-49, Nissa?
Thank you. I will make the motion to approve resolution number 2024-49. Again, it's over the amount of $5,000, which is why it's in front of the board. Ann Lewis passed away and donated money to 2 of the county libraries. I mean, that's the short story.
Supervisor Collins?
Ann lived just down the road from me in Liberty Grove, and the family was avid users of the library, both here and on the island. They had a summer place on the island. So on behalf of District 20, I would just like to express appreciation for the donation from Ann's estate.
We can do this by voice, right? Okay, any other comments on the resolution? Okay, if not on a voice vote, we'll try to pass this resolution. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, resolution passes. Okay, our ordinances regarding some zoning map changes. So we have a report and then we have a vote. So,
Yep.
You?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. On page 14 of your handout, I'd like to make a motion to basically accept the report to the Door County Board of Supervisors for an amendment zoning map in the town of Sturgeon Bay. It's for Ruth Barless that petitions to rezone an upland and non-wetland portion of a 5.2 parcel from the natural area to a single-family residential SF20 zone. If you have more information, we'll also bring up Jeff Kossow from Land Use. significance.
All right, so is there any questions on the report as presented by Hugh? Okay, so we'll, by voice, by. All right, a motion to amend the report has been requested.
Just be.
Okay, all right, okay. Supervisor Shamo?
It's time to ask questions during the report or when we go to the next phase of accepting the report? I have a
I think you'd
question.
ask them in both areas. I
Okay.
don't see any difference there, so.
Yeah, I guess I would just like an explanation why we would be reducing a wetland setback.
Okay.
Why we would rezone to reduce a 35-foot wetland setback to a 10-foot setback, other than being able to build on the property, which that wetland setback is supposed to protect wetlands, not do the opposite. So I just, yeah.
Right.
Love to hear the report.
So I can just say that, so what the owner was proposing an addition that is located as close as 20 feet from a wetland boundary. So there was a wetland delineation completed in fall of last year by DNR Assured Wetland Delineator. So where they're proposing the addition is 20 feet from the wetland boundary. In the current natural area district, it requires a 35-foot setback. In the proposed single-family residential 20,000 district, that only requires a 10-foot setback from wetlands. So with this rezoning, it was consistent with the comprehensive plan as required by state statute, and is also not considered a spot zoning since the properties adjacent to it are currently in that single-family residential 20,000 district.
Is when you say it's consistent, is the one next to it also that many feet from a wetland? Or is it just zoned that way because it's in that area?
The rezoning is consistent with the future land use designation for the comprehensive, or for the future land use map for the comprehensive plan. As far as the spot zoning and not being a spot zoning, the adjacent parcel is just zoned single-family residential 20,000. I do not have a distance of where they're set back from the wetland right now.
So I guess I'm trying to understand how we would rezone or consider rezoning or consider future land use or spot zoning in a natural area that's intended to protect a wetland without knowing the setbacks of the wetland in the adjacent properties. Like, I get that it's a different question, like the zoning matches, but does the wetland protection intention match? Like, where is the wetland on the neighboring properties? I was trying to pull it up on the map, but I couldn't get to the parcel search yet.
So there is wetland that extends into the neighboring properties.
So is the future land use plan to reduce the wetland setback? I guess is what I'm
The
getting
future
at.
land use plan does not reduce the wetland setback. That just only identifies in a general sense of what types of uses or what types of zoning districts are intended for that specific area. So with the future land use map, that current designation, rezoning it to single-family residential 20,000 is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that's a requirement per state statute.
Yep.
And then as far as it not being spot zoning, so typically when we're looking at spot zoning, it's, somebody has a natural area zone district and it's surrounded entirely by natural area. In that circumstance, we wouldn't even recommend, or we would advise against even petitioning to rezone. But in this scenario, the adjacent property is zoned in that single-family residential 20,000 district, so it's still consistent with the zoning in the relative nearby area.
I guess from the intent of natural area and wetland setbacks, how does this do for the wetland, is what I'm asking. Like, I get it, it might fit the statutes of future land use, but if the goal of that type of zoning is to protect the wetland and the setback purpose is to protect the wetland, how does this change do that or not do that? And
Well,
what the history of the ones next to it, did they used to be a natural area and then someone came and rezoned them
No,
to build closer?
those properties adjacent to the east were always in
Okay.
the single-family residential 20,000 district ever since the ordinance was adopted in 1995. And as far as protecting the wetland, I mean, certainly natural area requires a 35-foot setback from wetlands. The single-family residential 20,000 would require a minimum of 10 feet from wetlands, which is typical for, your properties along the shore there. But I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, certainly they can build closer to a wetland in the single-family residential 20,000 district.
And then when you say typical along the shore, isn't 75 feet the typical shoreland zoning setback?
Correct. correct.
Okay,
There's a
so it's
difference,
way less. Okay.
difference between the,
same
so the
mix.
shoreline setback on the
Yeah.
shore, that's a setback from the ordinary high water mark.
Yeah, yeah,
Wetland setback is from our delineated or mapped wetlands.
Because you said shore, I wanted to make sure it didn't seem like we
Yeah,
were
I'll-
saying it's the same as the shore.
All I
Okay.
was just referencing is
Yeah.
many of the properties that are along the shore within the county, they're in that single-family residential 20,000 district where you have those reduced or lesser setbacks in that as opposed to a natural area district.
Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Boltman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll be voting against this. I voted against it in committee. This parcel has, they're putting the addition on the back side of the house, which puts it closer to the wetland. And even though closer to the road, it looks like it's like, it seems like, well, why, because it's mostly, they're building a garage with living space above to add to the house. And it seems like it makes sense to build it closer to the road, but then apparently there was a couple, this is in a ridge and swale environment, so it's just like, if you've walked around the Ridge of Sanctuary, spent any time in the canal property, you know, this is right across the canal from the Land Trust canal property, so it's a lot of ridge and swale, so you have these little dry and high areas and then low areas, and it's a quite a mix, and so it's fairly complex. So in my opinion, we should have had a more complete wetland delineation. They only delineated the back of the house because that's where the people wanted to put their addition, and they didn't delineate the front of the house. And then we were just told, like, well, there was wetlands in the front yard too, but there was no map to show or prove that. That also being said, west of the house now is a whole bunch of high and dry land that if they wanted to build, they could build to their heart's content. I take a hard line on wetlands. We have destroyed way too many wetlands in America. We have a colonizer mindset that we can just do whatever we want, and it's starting to affect us in the long run, and we need to get past that point of just saying, oh, you know, to me, this is a death by 1,000 cuts. We got to stop this pushing towards wetlands. We need more than a 10-foot setback at wetlands. We need to change our zoning laws and get serious about actually doing some wetland protection. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Zettel.
Just for clarification, at the testimony at the RPC meeting, the owner did say that the wetland, the certified wetland delineator walked the entire property. It wasn't just where the addition was going to go, and which is one of the reasons why they put the addition in the back end as opposed to the front end of the house, which would be more in the SF20 clear area. And she did note that delineator walked the entire property with her, and the wetland delineator then, you know, laid out the area as was noted on the map and presented to the RPC. I have no reason to doubt the integrity of the testimony by the owner, and also on that front end of the property, there's also a pout system, which may also have been some challenge as well. So I just want to make sure that that's clarified. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Vinnie?
For these kinds of situations, can we please have in our packet all of the information that went in the hearing? Because it's not out there yet, because it's too, like, the minutes and things aren't out there and all the packet, and well, some of the packet information is, but it just feels like we just get the zoning map and then there's all this other information. So, I mean, I guess I should go back through the past agendas and find it, but it's even hard on there to find where it is on the county map. I've been trying to pull it up quick to see the area, but I mean, this is, yeah, I'm definitely voting against it. The 75-foot setback is ideal for wetlands. 35 is really small, and 10 is doing almost nothing. So I will definitely vote against it, and I just disagree entirely. If we have wetland laws in specific places, we shouldn't be changing them unless it's an extreme situation. So that's how I feel.
Thank you. Okay, so the task at hand is to approve the report that as presented and as discussed here. So we'll do this by voice vote. So all those in favor of approving the report that we're looking at here right now, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, one opposed. Get the other? Okay. All right, Supervisor Zettel, if you would present the resolution or the ordinance, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The Door County Board of Supervisors pursuant to Section 59.69 sub 5 sub E Wisconsin State Statutes does hereby ordain an amendment to the detailed zoning map of the town of Sturgeon Bay to rezone the upland non-Wen Upland portion of the 5.2 parcel from natural area to single-family residential to 20,000 SF20, resulting in the parcel being in the SF20 and wetlands districts.
Okay. So this will be a voter board vote here once we move forward.
We need a
Was-
motion.
Was that the motion, Hugh? Yes, that was the motion. Okay. Hugh presented that as a motion, so do we have a second? We have a second by Fisher. Any further discussion? Any further discussion, or we'll move to the voter board? Okay, move to the voter board.
Patrick is not voted yet.
All right, we're waiting for Patrick to vote online here. Okay, the ordinance is approved on a vote 11-7 with 3 absent. Okay, moving on to any special reports? Any new business or oral committee reports? Supervisor Boltman?
I think it's worth noting, a few of us were at the WCA convention beginning of the week in La Crosse, and the weather was fantastic, and it was a pretty good turnout. I think there was over 900 people there, I think, and so they actually seemed like it was a bigger turnout than even some years. And I would say, it was, I would say, pretty typical. Had good breakout sessions, good opportunity for different opportunities. To me, the highlight was hearing from Milwaukee County, what's her name? Marcelia. She's the county board chair of Milwaukee County. And I guess years ago they had a Milwaukee County Youth Commission, and then it went away for a while. I don't know if it was COVID or do you remember? I don't know. Yeah, but they brought it back, and so they had they actually have a youth commission where they kind of advertise for and encourage a young person from each supervisory district to then get together, and I think it's a year-long program where they're exposed to county government, and they come to county board meetings, and they go to committee meetings, and they go tour the different departments, and they kind of get involved. They get these high school students involved in county government, and they had 4 of them there, and all of them spoke, and I mean, it was so inspiring. It was just a really, I'd love to see if we could maybe somehow figure out how to, whether it's each district or a couple kids from each high school or something, but I know they spent $50,000. That's what for them for a year. I think that was the annual budget to get 18, because they only have 18 supervisory districts, but to get 18 students involved and kind of make that program work. Anyway, I think it's something worth looking into, and that was, to me, that was the real inspiring thing. That was just to see those young people speaking, getting up in front of the microphone, speaking intelligently, cracking jokes. I mean, they were pretty mature and really just really engaged and really knowledgeable. It was impressive. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Zettel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the most recent Town of Sturgeon Bay meeting, they approved a contract with AT&T to provide fiber to the premise services in the Town of Sturgeon Bay, and they join the town of Egg Harbor and the town of Sebastopol in basically successfully getting all their grant agreements with the Public Service Commission. So we'll have roughly, I think, another 5,000, almost 6,000 locations if you go from the town of Sturgeon Bay all the way down through the town of Sturgeon Bay that will be served by fiber to the premises. So another great win in terms of grants. And I just want to do a shout out to the chairpersons for those towns that led their efforts, as well as the work of Jessica Hatch in the broadband office to help us secure those grants for the residents of those communities. Thank you.
Supervisor Miller.
Chair, I just wanted to thank Thad Ash and his department. I think it was Friday afternoon I received a call from a couple of the Haynesville church who's in my district about some flooding issues that they had. Called Thad on Monday morning. Within 2 hours, he was at the site meeting with the people, gave them some indication as to what the county could do to help them, and then also maybe what they could do themselves to help themselves with the funding issue. So I just wanted to a little shout out to Thad and his department. Thank you.
Thanks, Supervisor Miller. Okay, any other comments? If not, any review of committee minutes that needs to be discussed? Vouchers, claims, and bills? All right, so our next county board meeting is October 22nd at 9 o'clock. And if there's no further business, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Norton, second by Boltman. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. 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 Have a great rest of the week.